detail. Diane, welcome to the news today. And of course, you're going to take us into net zero, which is one of their key weapons for inducing fear and anxiety in the population in order to help smooth through that very change agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brian. And hello, Ben. It's good to be here today. I found out this morning, it was just reported on The Guardian and The Telegraph and other mainstream sources that our net zero secretary, Ed Miliband, is going to tell MPs who reject net zero policies that they are betraying future generations. If we can just put this quote up from here on the screen, he said, "I feel a deep sense of responsibility to tell them the truth about what we know about the climate and nature crisis. I want this to become an annual statement where it's an exercise in radical truth-telling." I thought that's what we did on UK Column, but apparently Ed Miliband does it instead, about the state of the climate and nature. And what he's talking about with this annual statement is he is now going to come up with what he calls a state of the climate address to the Commons, setting out the findings of, in this case, what is now the first, I believe, Met Office-led report that says the UK is already facing extreme weather and its effects. So this is going to be an annual event coming from the Energy and Net Zero Secretary. There's more reporting about this, about the Met Office release, saying that there's profound concern from the scientists, saying that this extreme heat, because we had a little bit of nice weather over the weekend, so now we're all experiencing global boiling, of course, that this is now the norm in the UK, which has not been my experience for the past 10 years. But anyway, the increasing frequency of heat waves and flooding raises fears over health, infrastructure, and how society functions. As reported by the Northern Echo, which is a local media outlet up here where I am in the north of England, the Reform UK's stance on net zero targets and carbon emissions in County Durham in particular, which is what I'd like to focus on as an example of just a certain area that is enacting these global policies, has been questioned. So if we can put Karen Allison up here on screen, she is the cabinet member for Neighbourhoods and Environment in Durham County Council. And she said, and I have to say, of course, that in Durham County Council, the Reform UK is kind of the ones in charge right now since the most recent election. And she said, Reform were elected with a mandate to review net zero and to identify efficiencies and savings for the people of County Durham. And it seems as though they may be trying to actually follow up on that. Back in June of this year, Mark Wilkes, who was a Lib Dem former cabinet member for Neighbourhoods and Climate Change, asked the new Reform administration whether it would continue the previously agreed council ambition to reduce its carbon footprint and achieve net zero. And that's because during the campaign that they were doing, Reform UK told voters that it would scrap net zero and energy levies to save households hundreds of pounds per year. Councillor Wilkes, however, said that, pushing back on this, saying that our low carbon team, so trying to decarbonize us, has achieved some amazing positive benefits for our council, our communities, our county, and our businesses. And also, quote, this has generated huge savings for the council and helped to secure millions of pounds of grant funding. Now, what I would like to know, and I'm still investigating this, is what this grant funding was meant to do and where the funding came from. Back in 2019, Durham County Council declared a climate emergency. And I have a video here from a few years ago when this was all starting, setting out the agenda from Durham County Council at that time.
Durham County Council has declared a climate emergency. We've set a target of reducing our emissions by 60% based on a 2008 baseline by 2030. And we've also set a wider target of reducing the entire county's emissions to neutral by 2050. If you live, work, travel or shop in Durham, we need your views on how we should approach this problem. In October 2018, the International Panel on Climate Change produced a special report which stated that we have 12 years remaining to take drastic action to mitigate climate change. In response, the Council has produced a report which outlined potential pathways to being carbon neutral. The report explores what the Council needs to do to reduce our emissions, what the county as a whole needs to do working in partnership, and what central government needs to do to enable us to meet our targets. At the moment, we use natural gas to heat our homes and other buildings. Most of our electricity is produced by burning natural gas and coal, and our buses, trains and cars run on fossil fuels, which, as well as CO2 pollution, could also lead to worsening health effects in city centres, such as poorer air quality. As the level of CO2 in the atmosphere increases, it will lead to more extreme weather events like storms, flooding, droughts and heat waves. We need to act now to mitigate this, as well as prepare ourselves for these weather events when they do happen. We believe we need to increase investment in renewables, such as the new solar farm at Tanfield, the council is building. We need to invest more in efficiency measures like LEDs and insulation. We need to change our transport to low carbon solutions such as ultra low emission vehicles, and we need to strive to protect and enhance our peatland and woodland, which are important carbon sinks. Now it's time for you to tell us what you think.
So that was 5 years ago when they first declared the local emergency. So Darren Grimes, who is the deputy leader of reform here in County Durham, and I will come back to him later in the news, he's requested that the authority instead declare what he's calling a County Durham care emergency rather than a climate emergency, to recognize the, quote, critical and escalating crisis in children's social care. And this includes provisions for children with special needs and disabilities. This will be voted on this Wednesday at a full council meeting on the motion. And so that should be an interesting meeting to attend if you can do so. The current climate emergency response plan, which I mentioned, has gone through several iterations. It has several objectives for meeting these net zero agenda items. The current one will run until 2027 if it's left in place. It warns that the ongoing crisis is, quote, the most urgent threat to the well-being of our children and the financial stability of our county. But of course, it seems that Councillor Grimes disagrees. We can look at this Climate County Durham website, and this is just a screenshot of the homepage, where they say they are turning climate talk into climate action. This was funded originally by the Northeast Local Enterprise Partnership, which has now become, as of last year, the Northeast Combined Authority. And according to the website, with a population just under 2 million, the area covered by the Combined Authority, and we can see how huge this authority now is the 7 local authority areas of County Durham, Gateshead, Newcastle, North Tyneside, Northumberland, South Tyneside, and Sunderland. Kim Guinness is the first Northeast mayor, so again, coming into this last year. She says that she is committed to creating a Northeast that goes beyond net zero. So I don't know how you go beyond net zero. I guess we go negative from there, with climate change policies that change lives and delivering on the green jobs revolution are her priorities. And according to the website for this new combined authority, it is the home of the green energy revolution. And it says that we will grasp the opportunity that net zero presents to the Northeast. And it is important that the transition to a more climate-friendly one is a just one. And of course, that goes into the globalist language. If you look at Dr. Paul Raskin's work and the Club of Rome. So speaking of the Club of Rome, just to kind of end this on a globalist point here, according to Alexander Keene, who was one of the founders of the Club of Rome, he wrote in a report by the Club of Rome, which was published in 1991, the common enemy of humanity is man. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea, I want to stress that, the threat of global warming fit the bill. So this was an idea come up, and if you look at this, coming up from globalist policies, and we see it acting all the way down into local authorities around the world, including the funding, including the fear, including creating enemies for people other than ourselves, or maybe in addition to or worse than ourselves. So I just wanted to give an example of how this actually plays out on a local level. So Brian, Ben, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, Diane, I'll come straight back in and say thank you for that report. It is really encouraging that we are now starting to see, at least at sort of councillor level, local council level, people are challenging this nonsense. And by the young man who was speaking in that video clip, the reframing is incredibly powerful, because I'm sure he believed in the nonsense that he was spouting to the camera just then. But it's absolutely great to know that people are challenging this, and that even within reform, we are now starting to see that there is a focus on the policies and not just accepting the hit that those policies make on our daily life. So I hope that amongst other smaller parties, that reform councillors are really going to be staying on target with this one. Now, As we always do, we want to say a huge thank you to our audience for the support that you give us. If you donate to the UK Column or you're a paid up member of UK Column, you are the people that keep us going. And we could not do what we do without your financial support. So thank you very much to everybody who's out there, not only in UK, but worldwide. And I have to say to you that although in some countries it's a very small number of people viewing, we are astonished at the number of countries that UK Column actually reaches in order to get out some very different news from the nonsense espoused by the BBC. In the coming days and weeks, we'll talk more about the people who are supporting us and indeed which overseas countries we've got support in. But suffice to say, thank you to everybody who's actually making that financial contribution, because we wouldn't be here without you. Now, Diane, one of the things that we've been trying to do over recent months, at least, is to encourage people to view UK Column written material. And I believe you've got a couple of articles here which are going to be which are up on the website at the moment. I don't know whether you'd like to just make a quick comment.
I'd be happy to, Brian, as the commissioning editor for written content. This was I would like to say first that Vanessa Beeley is, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, now doing a weekly blog related to Syria issues. Last week's was called "A Terrorist Suicide Bombing in a Damascus Church Triggers a Wider to Fury Purge of Syrian Minorities." Apologies for the picture there of David Lammy and Delaney shaking hands, but Vanessa and I decided it was necessary to get across how terrible this all is. And another article that we published last week was called "The Virus Crisis Playbook," which is by Sarah Newland. What she did here was she compared the foot and mouth disease outbreak from around 25 years ago to the so-called COVID, so-called pandemic. And there's some very interesting parallels between the two situations. Sarah Newland also published the most recent front page story in the new issue of the Light paper. So take a look at that as well, because that's some great work.
Okay, excellent. And the interview going out tomorrow at 1:00 is Dr. Judith Brown. I think that one's yours as well, Diane. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is correct. Yeah, we interviewed Brown a couple of years ago on UK Column, but this is a new interview talking about some recent work that she's done. I have called this interview "Fact-Checking the Fact Censors," because I think, especially after you watch our discussion, you'll see exactly why the fact checkers are actually censoring the actual facts. So please tune in for that tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Yeah, brilliant. And tonight we've got germ warfare, and that will be lessons from the COVID and AIDS scam. So that should be very interesting, and with guest Ken McCarthy. Watch out for that one. And of course, a big update to say October the 18th, we've got our UK Column on location in York. We will be announcing those tickets. We're keeping you on tenterhooks at the moment. But essentially, this is going to be a fantastic event, and it's in a fantastic location. So stay posted with that, and we'll give you more details in due course. Now, we also give a reminder for the Sunday, the 20th of July, Regional Sovereignty versus Devolution. Absolutely on the button with what Ben Rubin's been talking about in today's news. And that's a meet-up in the Field of Dreams, Exeter, EX49JL. Bring your own lunch, a mug and a folding chair, it says. And that's from 9:30 to 4:30. We've also got the Thetford Truth and Freedom Festival. That's this Friday 18th through to Saturday the 19th at the Angel Inn in Larling, NR16 2QU. And Diane, I believe you will be at that one. We'll do more on that in Extra, UK Column Extra. And lastly, we've got here the Freedom Music Festival, 22nd to the 25th of August this year. And of course, that's Bank Holiday weekend. The UK Column team will be attending. Now, where does that take us? I think, Ben, that brings you back